The Chicago sky was overcast with gray clouds, and an unseasonably cold rain pattered against the pavement. Olivia Brown was wiping sweat from her brow in the kitchen of La Piazza, doing a final check on today's special menu. In her hands, ordinary ingredients transformed into works of art. It was both her natural talent and a skill honed during her 10-year career as a chef. "Olivia, is the risotto for table 9 ready?" Chef Marco's voice echoed through the kitchen. "Yes, just one more minute," Olivia replied while quickly adding the finishing touches. La Piazza, where she worked as sous chef, was one of the most reputable Italian restaurants in the area, and reservations were hard to come by. For 10 years, Olivia had been steadily saving money to open her own restaurant in Chicago. Little by little from her monthly salary, sometimes taking on special catering jobs late into the night, she had managed to save the considerable sum of $150,000. In just a few more months, she would reach her target amount and finally be able to open her own place. "Another wonderful job tonight, Olivia," Marco gently patted her shoulder after closing. "I'll be sad when you eventually strike out on your own." Olivia smiled. "That's still a little ways off." When she returned to her apartment, Olivia's smartphone rang. The screen displayed "Mom." She hesitated slightly before answering. "Olivia, can you come for dinner tomorrow? I have something important to tell you." Martha's voice had an unusual excitement to it. "I can come since it's my day off." "Did something happen?" "It's about Brittany." "Wonderful news." Of course, it's about Brittany, Olivia thought. Her 27-year-old sister had always been the center of their parents' attention. Brittany was beautiful and sociable, fitting perfectly into the mold of the perfect daughter her parents had always wanted. Meanwhile, Olivia had chosen what they considered an unstable career in cooking, disappointing their expectations. At least, that's how her parents seemed to feel. The next day, Olivia rang the doorbell at her parents' house. Her father, George, opened the door. "Hey, Olivia," he greeted her flatly before leading her to the living room. In the living room, Martha and Brittany were sitting on the sofa, looking at something and laughing together. A large diamond ring sparkled on Brittany's finger. "Olivia." Brittany jumped up and rushed to her sister, thrusting out her left hand. "Look. Jason proposed." Brittany's fiancé, Jason Ellis, was the son of one of Chicago's wealthiest real estate families. They had met a year ago, and Brittany had proudly flaunted their relationship in front of her parents. "Congratulations," Olivia offered her sincere blessing. There was no reason not to wish her sister happiness. "The wedding is in 6 months." Brittany continued excitedly. "The Ellis family wants a formal wedding. We've already booked the venue. It's the most beautiful hotel in Chicago." "That's wonderful," Olivia replied, suddenly remembering her bank balance. She was so close to achieving her dream. Throughout dinner, the conversation focused entirely on Brittany's wedding, the dress, the guest list, the flower arrangements, and plans for the families to meet. Olivia nodded occasionally, but her thoughts drifted to her restaurant plans. "So, Olivia," her father's voice suddenly interrupted her daydreaming. "We're meeting the Ellis family next Saturday. You'll be there, right?" "Of course," Olivia answered. "Where will it be?" "At La Piazza," Martha replied. When Brittany told Jason's parents that her sister works there, they said they'd love to eat there. William Ellis in particular is quite the food connoisseur and was interested. Olivia felt both surprised and pressured. She hadn't expected such influential people to visit her workplace. But it was also a perfect opportunity to showcase her skills. On the night of the family meeting, in addition to her regular duties, Olivia took special care with the Ellis family's table. Each dish she prepared drew exclamations of delight when served. Toward the end of the meal, a silver-haired gentleman appeared in the kitchen. "May I speak with the chef?" he asked. Marco smiled and called Olivia over. "Olivia, you have a visitor." "Thank you for a wonderful meal," the gentleman extended his hand. I'm William Ellis, soon to be your sister's father-in-law. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Olivia replied, maintaining a professional demeanor despite her nervousness. Enjoyed it? I was moved, William said with a sincere expression. Especially that ravioli, it was a work of art. Your talent is genuine. Brittany was also standing there, listening to the conversation between her sister and her future father-in-law. Olivia didn't miss the momentary look of dissatisfaction that crossed her face. Over the next few weeks, William visited La Piazza several times to enjoy Olivia's cooking. He would occasionally stop by the kitchen to talk with her about cuisine. William wasn't just wealthy, he was a true gastronome and one of the few people who understood Olivia's passion. One morning, Olivia was drinking coffee and checking her bank account on her laptop, as was her weekly habit. When the numbers appeared on the screen, she nearly dropped her coffee cup. This must be some mistake. She blinked several times and refreshed the screen. But the numbers didn't change. Her $150,000 savings, accumulated over 10 years, had dwindled to a balance of just $327. With trembling hands, she called the bank, and the transaction history was revealed. A large withdrawal had been made 2 weeks ago. It had been done in her parents' names. No, this is a mistake, Olivia pleaded with the bank representative. I didn't authorize this withdrawal. I'm sorry, but your account is a joint account. Your parents legally have the right to withdraw funds. After hanging up, Olivia called her parents in anger and confusion. Dad, where is my savings? Olivia's voice was shaking. On the other end, George Brown's voice was surprisingly calm. Oh, we used it for Brittany's wedding. What? Olivia couldn't believe her ears. You used my money without asking? We opened the account in your name. We kept it as a joint account in case of emergencies. Brittany's wedding is a major family event, George's voice showed no sign of regret. Martha, who also got on the phone, was similar. This is a marriage into the Ellis family. We need to have a ceremony that matches their status. Surely you understand? Olivia was speechless. 10 years of effort, countless overtime hours, working holidays, all her dreams. Gone in an instant. I'm coming over right now, she said coldly and hung up. 30 minutes later, Olivia stood at her parents' front door. Her mother opened it. Olivia, calm down. This is for family, Martha said, trying to soothe her daughter as she saw the anger on her face. In the living room, her father George and Brittany were sitting on the sofa. Brittany was holding wedding venue brochures and smiling at them. What have you done? Olivia cried, unable to contain her anger. I saved that money desperately for 10 years. I was going to open my own restaurant with it. George stood up and looked down at his daughter. Calm down, Olivia. Families are supposed to help each other. Help each other? Olivia retorted in disbelief. You spent all my life savings without even consulting me. Brittany looked up from her brochure and gave her sister a cold look. Don't be so dramatic. I'm having my wedding at the finest hotel in Chicago. The Ellis family expects it. What does that have to do with me? Your stupid dream doesn't matter, Brittany said with a sneer. My happiness is more important. As my sister, you should support me. Olivia was stunned by her sister's words. To call her dream stupid. Give it back, Olivia said with a trembling voice. Give me back my money. It's already spent, George was adamant. The hotel deposit, the dress, catering, flowers, everything's been contracted. How could you do this? Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. It's my life. The money I saved for my future. Sacrifice for your family. George suddenly shouted. Do you want to ruin Brittany's chance? If she becomes part of the Ellis family, all our lives will improve. I've been sacrificing for my dream for 10 years, Olivia raised her voice. I've had enough. The argument escalated, and the air in the room was tense. Martha stood silently behind her husband, wearing a sad expression but clearly taking his side. "If you're going to be so selfish, you're no longer a daughter of this house," George blurted out in anger. "Get out." Olivia froze. Her family was really going to abandon her. For her sister. "Fine," she said quietly. "But remember, this isn't just about money. You betrayed my trust." As she left the house, she didn't miss Brittany's triumphant smile. Back in her apartment, Olivia was overwhelmed with despair. But amid her anger and sadness, she made an important decision. She took out her smartphone and found the venue's phone number from her notes. It was the number listed on the brochure Brittany had proudly shown. "Blossom Hotel, how may I help you?" a woman's voice answered. "Hello," Olivia said in a composed voice. "I'd like to cancel the reservation for the Brown-Ellis wedding." "Your name, please?" "Martha Brown," Olivia gave her mother's name. "The family has decided to look for another venue." After hanging up, Olivia collapsed onto her bed and cried for a long time. Not only had her 10-year dream been shattered, but she was now also cut off from her family. Early the next morning, her phone rang. The screen showed "Dad." After a moment's hesitation, Olivia answered. "Hello?" "Olivia," George's voice had a fear in it that she had never heard before. "Something terrible has happened. The venue called to confirm our cancellation." "What are we going to do?" Olivia answered calmly. "Find another place yourselves. You used my money, so you figure it out." "How?" "Olivia, are you joking?" Her father's voice was a mix of desperation and anger. "Joking?" Olivia replied sarcastically. "You ruined my life. Did you forget what you said about me no longer being a daughter of this house? But there's only a week until the wedding." George's voice became pleading. "We'll be humiliated in front of the Ellis family." "That's not my problem." After hanging up, Olivia took a deep breath. She knew what she needed to do next. She couldn't forgive her parents' betrayal, but there had to be a way to make the most of this situation. She looked through her smartphone contacts for William Ellis's number. He had given her his business card after a recent dinner, saying, "If you ever need anything." "Hello, Ellis speaking." "Mr. Ellis, this is Olivia Brown. Do you have a moment? I have something important to discuss." "Of course, Olivia. What's on your mind?" Olivia took a deep breath and began to tell him everything: her dream of opening a restaurant, her 10 years of savings, how her parents had used that money without her permission, and how she had been thrown out of the house. She also honestly told him about canceling the venue. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "This is surprising," William's voice was low, seemingly restraining his anger. "Actually, just yesterday, Brittany's parents asked me if I could cover additional wedding expenses, claiming there were unexpected costs. So they were using your money." "Yes," Olivia said sadly. "I don't want to cause trouble for Jason or your family. But I wanted you to know the truth." "Thank you for being honest." "This is a legal matter, Olivia," William said in a lawyer-like tone. "This is clearly embezzlement. Even with a joint account, using the entire amount without Olivia's consent is illegal. I don't intend to sue them. No, this cannot be overlooked. I'll talk to Jason." That afternoon, Olivia's doorbell rang. When she opened the door, Jason and William were standing there. "May we come in?" Jason's expression was dark and downcast. Olivia showed them into the living room. "First, let me apologize," Jason began. "What Brittany's family did to you is unforgivable. Father told me everything. You don't need to apologize. You didn't know, right?" "I didn't," Jason said weakly. "But I don't want to be involved with such a family." I need to reconsider the marriage. Jason. Olivia exclaimed in surprise. You don't have to go that far. Brittany is. We've already met with Brittany, William interjected. Unfortunately, she showed no signs of remorse. Rather, she blamed you, saying that Olivia ruined everything. Olivia felt a pang in her heart. Had her sister really changed so much, or had she always been this way? That's unfortunate, she murmured. Olivia, William looked at her with a serious expression. Don't give up on your restaurant dream. I am also an investor. I believe your talent is genuine. Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. But, with the uncertain situation regarding Jason and Brittany's wedding. That's a separate issue, William said calmly. Business is business. I want to invest in your culinary talent. During this conversation, Olivia's phone had been ringing continuously. It was Brittany calling. You might want to answer that, Jason said. Olivia hesitantly answered the phone. Olivia. Brittany's scream echoed. What have you done? Jason says he's reconsidering the wedding. You ruined everything. Brittany, calm down. How can I calm down? The venue is cancelled, my fiancé is angry. It's all your fault. My fault? Olivia's voice turned cold. You all stole my life savings. Stole? How dare you? Brittany raised her voice. You've always been selfish. Have you ever done anything for your family? Tears were streaming from Olivia's eyes. Jason, who was nearby, frowned and reached for the phone. Brittany, it's Jason, his voice was stern. Come to my house right now with your parents. We need to talk. He hung up and turned back to Olivia. I'm sorry this has happened. No, Olivia wiped her tears. I'm the one who's sorry for ruining your special day. You didn't ruin anything, William said firmly. Now, we're going to have a family meeting, and Olivia, I want you to come too. Me? Yes. I have conditions, William said as he stood up. First, we'll hold the parents legally responsible. And if you'll handle the catering, the wedding will proceed as planned. Olivia looked at them both in surprise. Me, catering Brittany's wedding? I don't want to waste your talent, William smiled. And I'll invest $300,000 in your restaurant. $300,000? Olivia repeated in disbelief. There are conditions, Jason added. Your parents will have to acknowledge the embezzlement and sign a legal agreement to repay the $150,000. Olivia was speechless. Her dream had suddenly returned within reach. But it might come at the cost of completely destroying her relationship with her family. Let me think about it, she finally said. Of course, William nodded. But please decide quickly. We don't have much time. After they left, Olivia gazed out of her apartment window at the Chicago city lights twinkling against the darkening sky. Her heart was filled with complex emotions. Hours later, her phone rang again. This time it was her mother. Olivia. Martha's voice sounded tearful. What's happening? Mr. Ellis brought a lawyer. Mom, I told them the truth, Olivia answered calmly. About how you took my money without permission, how you threw me out of the house, everything. But, we're family. Yes, family, Olivia said sarcastically. That's why it hurts so much. What can we do to make you forgive us? Martha said, crying. Jason's father says that if you cater the wedding, it can proceed as planned. I know. They told me to. Please, Olivia, Martha begged. Brittany's life will be ruined. Olivia inhaled deeply and slowly exhaled. Even if I get my money back, I can't forgive what you all did to me, she finally said. But I'll keep my promise to the Ellis family. I'll handle the catering for the wedding. Martha sighed with relief on the other end of the phone. But remember, Olivia continued, I'm doing this for my sister, not for you. And our relationship will never be the same again. After hanging up, Olivia called William. I accept your conditions, she said with determination. Excellent, William's voice sounded satisfied. Tomorrow, I'll prepare the contracts. And I've arranged for a new venue. A better one. Thank you. No, thank you, William said sincerely. You are truly talented, Olivia. And I cannot stand by and watch someone like you be treated unfairly. After hanging up, Olivia smiled for the first time in days. Her life was taking an unexpected turn, but not necessarily in a bad direction. On the wedding day, the kitchen of the Grand Lakeview, Chicago's most luxurious hotel, was bustling with activity. Olivia, dressed in a white chef's coat, stood in the middle of the kitchen, directing the staff. Let the sauce reduce a bit more. Yes, that's perfect, she nodded to a young sous chef. Olivia had barely slept during the past week. She had designed the wedding menu, selected ingredients, assembled staff, and done multiple test runs. She knew this meal would be a turning point in her career. She had already signed the contract with William Ellis. Olivia, it smells wonderful. William appeared in the kitchen. He was dressed in an expensive black suit, adjusting his tuxedo bow tie. Thank you, Olivia gave a nervous smile. I think your guests will be pleased. I'm certain of that, William placed a hand on her shoulder. Ready? I'd like to introduce you during the reception. Olivia looked up. Me? But today's stars are Brittany and Jason. Of course, William smiled. But exceptional talent shouldn't be wasted. Trust me. After he left, Olivia took a deep breath. She returned to the kitchen and put the finishing touches on the dishes. The hotel ballroom was decorated in white and gold and filled with over 300 guests. Chicago's social elite had gathered to celebrate Brittany and Jason's marriage. The ceremony was solemn, and the bride was radiant in her white dress. But a careful observer would have noticed the tension behind her smile. Olivia didn't attend the ceremony, busy with final preparations in the kitchen. As the reception began, Olivia's dishes were carried to the tables one after another. Guests exclaimed in admiration, and many tried to visit the kitchen to express their appreciation. George and Martha, Olivia's parents, sat at the main table but were visibly uncomfortable. They kept glancing toward the kitchen, their faces flushed with guilt and embarrassment. After the last course was served, William stood up and took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this special day for our son Jason and his beautiful bride Brittany. Applause erupted from the audience. I'd like to thank Olivia Brown, Brittany's sister, for the magnificent meal she prepared for us today. William extended his hand toward the kitchen, inviting Olivia out. She hesitantly entered the ballroom. In her white chef's coat, she stood out brilliantly in the bright light of the venue. She will soon be opening her own restaurant, with the support of the Ellis family. Surprised voices and applause rose from the audience. Brittany visibly showed her displeasure, gripping her husband's arm tightly. Her talent is extraordinary. Today's meal is proof of that, William continued. Olivia acknowledged the praise with embarrassment and gratitude. When her gaze fell on her parents, George and Martha looked away. Unfortunately, William's voice suddenly became stern. This restaurant opening came about because of an unfortunate incident in which her parents used her savings without her permission. The room fell silent. Guests looked at each other in surprise, then at her parents. George and Martha turned bright red with shame and seemed to sink into their seats. Brittany likewise felt humiliated in front of her husband's family and lowered her face. However, we believe in Olivia's talent. Her restaurant, Nouveau Debut, will open next month. Please, everyone, do visit. Olivia smiled gratefully, but inside, she felt conflicted. By revealing the truth publicly, William had socially humiliated her parents and Brittany. After the speech, the reception continued. While couples danced on the floor, Olivia stood alone on the balcony, gazing up at the stars. There you are. Turning around, she saw William. That was quite a speech, Olivia said. But, was it necessary? To publicly mention my parents? William sighed. Sometimes truth is painful. But secrets never last. Social reputation matters. Your parents and Brittany had a lesson to learn. Why are you helping me so much? Olivia asked seriously. I couldn't stand by and watch a talented person be treated unfairly, William answered, looking up at the stars. And I thought justice was necessary for my son to have a happy marriage. Will Jason be happy? With Brittany? That's for them to decide, William shrugged. Brittany has a lot to learn. Time will tell if she can change. He extended his hand. Olivia shook it. A strange bond had formed between them. Something like a mentor-student relationship, or perhaps friendship. Let's make a toast, William pulled a small flask from his pocket. To the beginning of your new life. And to justice, Olivia added with a smile. From the dance floor came music and laughter. The bride and groom were dancing but occasionally glancing at the two figures on the balcony. No one yet knew what impact tonight's events would have on their marriage. The only certainty was that Olivia's life was beginning a new chapter, and her long-held dream was finally becoming reality. And it was happening in a way she never could have imagined. On the grand opening day of A Nouveau Debut, Chicago was hit by a cold wave. Nevertheless, a long line formed in front of the restaurant. Local newspaper and magazine reporters, food critics, and regular patrons of high-end restaurants were eagerly awaiting the opening of Olivia Brown's new establishment. Inside, Olivia was directing the final preparations. Her restaurant had a bright, warm interior with about 50 seats. Though small, it reflected her attention to detail in every aspect. Nervous? Turning around, she saw William Ellis. He had come especially early to be the first customer after the opening. A little, Olivia admitted with a smile. But this was my dream. I'm ready. No doubt about that, William patted her shoulder lightly. When opening time came and the doors swung open, the gathered crowd entered with cheers. Olivia warmly welcomed each one at the entrance. Her parents were not among them. The first night was a tremendous success. Chicago's premier food critic began writing a review on the spot, praising it as a new star born in Chicago. Social media overflowed with photos of A Nouveau Debut dishes, and reservations filled up 3 months in advance. About a month after opening, near closing time one day, 2 familiar figures entered the restaurant door. It was George and Martha Brown. Olivia froze for a moment but greeted them with a professional smile. It's an honor to welcome you both, she said calmly. I'll prepare a table. During the meal, her parents appeared nervous, occasionally glancing at Olivia. After the meal, as the restaurant was about to close, George stood up and approached Olivia. The food was wonderful, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I'm proud of you, daughter. Thank you, Olivia responded neutrally. Martha also stood up and said tearfully, we're truly sorry. We didn't understand your talent. And, we betrayed your trust. Olivia took a deep breath. I can't forget what you did. But with time, I might be able to forgive. It wasn't complete reconciliation, but it was a small step. Her parents were continuing to repay the $150,000 as per the legal agreement and were struggling to regain their social standing. Many of their friends had distanced themselves. Meanwhile, Brittany's married life was not going smoothly. After the incident at the wedding, relations with the Ellis family had cooled, and she suffered from always being seen as Olivia's sister. Cracks were beginning to appear in her relationship with Jason as well. Have you heard from her? William asked one night when visiting the restaurant. No, Olivia shook her head. She still seems to think she's the victim. Time can resolve some things, William said philosophically. But not everyone learns from their lessons. With the success of the restaurant, Olivia was surrounded by a network of new friends, colleagues, and people who understood and respected her talent. Her life had become richer and more fulfilling than before. One night after closing, Olivia stood on the restaurant's balcony, gazing up at the stars. The lights of Chicago spread out below her, and a cool breeze caressed her cheeks. She reflected on the past 6 months, the friction with her family, the betrayal, the lost trust, and the unexpected support and success. Life is sometimes unfair and sometimes offers unexpected gifts. Olivia took a deep breath. The anger in her heart was gradually fading. She was no longer a prisoner of her past. A bright future lay ahead of her. A future she had won through her own talent and effort. Nouveau début, a new beginning. The name of her restaurant represented her life itself.